This week on the Analog Circle podcast, we get the full gaming list for the PlayStation Classic. We find out what Black Friday deals Target is having. Could Titanfall 3 release next year? We got some news on that, brother. Sunset Overdrive is coming to PC, and we get a release date for Spiderman's next upcoming DLC. All of these stories and so much more in episode number 90 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I truly want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the podcast. Now, if you guys want to reach the show, you can do that two different ways. You can either call in on the hotline at 443-216-9934 or email the show. The email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Definitely call in and write in and just do your due diligence and interact with the show. Now, guys, I've been gone for a couple of weeks. I do apologize, but we are back in the mix, baby. We are back. Now, this week, I don't have any fan mail because I was off and didn't get a chance to make any other podcasts. Definitely apologize for that, but I'm here now, and once again, I truly appreciate you guys taking the time out to spend a little bit of time with me. Now, I do want to let you guys know what I have been into, and we know that one of those games, one of the biggest games, has come out in the last week or so, which is Red Dead Redemption 2. I bought it. I just installed it into my Xbox One today. But, yeah, I didn't get a chance to really play Red Dead Redemption 2. I know you guys are probably saying, what the world are you doing with your life? Let me tell you something, brother. I've been trying to prioritize some of these games that I've had for months now. I mean, God of War, I still haven't beat that, so I'm trying to get through the last half of that game to be able to complete that. I actually started, however, though, the game that I've actually been playing and have been thoroughly enjoying is with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This game is absolutely fantastic. Now, I know this game was getting a lot of hate, more so because on the Steam side of things, I think they dropped the price down by 50%, maybe 2 weeks later after the game was released, and they just review bombed it to death. But I have to tell you guys, if you have been thinking about getting Shadow of the Tomb Raider, this game graphically is fantastic. Gameplay wise, it is great. And story wise, I'm about, let's say 6, maybe 7 hours in right now. I'm kind of a ways in. The story is okay. It's not anything that's gonna change your life. It's not anything that's gonna be something you haven't seen before from a Tomb Raider game, but it is still a pretty okay story. I tell you, I have been enjoying this game thoroughly. It's just been remarkable. The cinematic scenes, the voice acting is great. The different environments that Laura goes through and her covering herself up with dirt to actually blend in kind of via Rambo style. Oh my gosh. Covering yourself in mud. It's gorgeous. Absolutely fantastical. And I don't even think that's a word, but man, the game is just good. Really freaking good, man. Outside of Rise of the Tomb Raider, I think that is about all I've been playing. Nothing more, nothing less. Definitely about to get into Red Dead Redemption, this weekend, but Yeah, that's about all I've been into, guys. Good grief. That was pretty quick and painless. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and jump right on into what you guys come here for and what I love to report on, and that is the gaming news that went down. I hit the microphone, my bad. Now let's start it off. Let's jump into some PlayStation news. Now, a few weeks back, we got the news that Sony was working on a PlayStation Classic, but we didn't know what the full game list was going to include. Well, we do now. Now, this list was announced by Sony, and it goes as follows. Here are the games: Battle Arena Toshinden, Cool Borders 2, Man, Cool Borders 2. Who the world asked for this? Let's move on. Let's see, Destruction Derby. That's not bad. That's an okay one. Final Fantasy 7. This might have had more kick to it if, they didn't bring out the remixes and remakes and whatnot. But anyway, let me finish the list. Grand Theft Auto, Intelligent Cube, Jumping Flash, Metal Gear Solid, Mr. Driller, Old World, Abe's Odyssey. You got Rayman on there, Resident Evil Director's Cut, Revelations Persona, Ridge Racer Type 4, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Siphon Filter. Ooh, okay. You got Tekken 3, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, Twisted Metal, and Wild Arms. Now I gotta say, this list overall, to me, it's not a bad list. I don't think it's bad. It's not anything that I'm very excited about. I don't know if I'm going to pick up this PlayStation Classic. I mean, I was looking for games like maybe Wipeout. What happened to Wipeout? You put Destruction Derby in there. Think you could have replaced that with Wipeout. I mean, Ridge Racer, that's a staple on the PlayStation, so I understand why you would want to keep that. But, I was looking for Tenchu. The original Tenchu that came out on the PlayStation. I mean, you got the new game. It's not an actual sequel to Tenchu, but it is more of a successor, kind of, in the vein of that game, which is coming out, next year. And then I was looking for, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this game, and this might be just me. A lot of other people might not have even cared if this was on the list, but I was hoping to get Rival Schools, one of Capcom's old, fighters from what was that, 96? Somewhere around in that era. Rival Schools was absolutely phenomenal. That Bloody Roar was another great game, another great fighting game. I mean, good grief. It was so many amazing PlayStation games that they could have pulled from. And for me, I just think this list just comes up a little short. Don't get me wrong. I think Battle Arena Toshinden is cool, but in my personal opinion, Tekken 3, it's the better game. I mean, if you wanted to go with weapons and swords and whatnot, like Battle Arena Toshinden has, I mean, you could have went with, it's not called Soul Blade. I think it's called Soul Calibur. Think that was on the original PlayStation. I could be wrong and tripping, but I thought it was there. But I mean, what about Bushido Blade? I mean, it's so many different ones you could have gave us, Sony, but I digress, man. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this list, and if any of you guys will be picking up the PlayStation Classic. But let me go ahead and move on to the next story. Now, let's talk about some Nintendo Switch news. Now, it has been announced by Capcom that Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil, and Resident Evil O are making their way over to the platform in 2019. But as it stands, no release date has been announced. Now, I'm taking it, personally, I'm thinking that these versions are going to be the versions that have been released for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. Now, Capcom said via a tweet, and I quote, "We'll have more info soon." So for any of you guys that have been interested in playing Resident Evil, Oh man, these games on the go, you are gonna get your wish. Nintendo continues to bring out these games, man. I mean, this is fantastic. Nintendo, I'm so glad that you're doing this. You're continuing to get that third party support, which was very, very dire in the Wii U era. You have definitely made up for it, and I'm glad to see Nintendo flourishing so great when it comes to the third party support. Now, moving on to the next story. Now, I gotta tell you, I found this article, right? And I thought it was so interesting because when you think of a store that can fulfill all of your shopping needs, what store do you think of personally? I mean, for me, it's no doubt it's Walmart. Now, some people might not know this, but Walmart sells caskets, god dog it. So they want your money now and in the afterlife. I mean, when I went on, Walmart.com, good grief, they got caskets and errands, brother. These cats are not in the business of losing money. They trying to do a monopoly on everything. But anyway, back to the point. So because of that, it should be no surprise that Walmart is getting into PC gaming. Now, it was announced, this was last Monday, that they have partnered up with Esports Arena on a line of 3 desktop towers and 3 laptops. Now, the line will be called Overpowered, and they will be sold exclusively on Walmart.com. Now, these, I gotta tell you, these don't look like they're gonna be those old school E-machines from back in the day with like 10 megahertz on it. You know what I'm saying? These things look like they got a little bit of power on them, a little bit of power. So check this out. They actually are definitely packing a punch. Now, here are some specs they have. Now, this is some of the specs for some of the models. This model it's going to have a i7 CPU, 32 gigabytes of memory with high capacity hard disk drives and solid state drives, and will have up to a 1080 Ti NVIDIA GTX graphics card. Now, they will start at around $999 for the cheapest laptop, while its counterpart desktop will be $1399. Now, they are up for pre-order at Walmart.com. Now, for $999, if you want to spend that much, which is the entry, this gets you a i5 8300H NVIDIA GTX 1050 with a 1 terabyte hard disk drive, 8 gigs of RAM, and that's about it. Now, if you want to go for $1399, god dang, these prices are high as frick. Man, $13.99. This gets you a let's see. Now I want to let you guys know I'm not all that CPU. What is it? Man, I'm not in the know that great with all of these computer specs and whatnot. I kind of got an idea of what they are, but anyway, for $13.99, this is gonna get you let's say 144 hertz Intel i7 8750H. NVIDIA GTX 1060 with 256 solid state drive, 1 terabyte hard disk drive, 16 gigabytes of RAM. Now that's for laptops. Anyway, man, what the world am I doing? Look, listen, if you want to find out the rest of these specs, go over to Walmart.com, check it out for yourself. I will say, however, that on one of the models, I believe one of the laptops, it was they were given a GTX 1060, whereas for around the same price point, you could have gone to Micro Center and got just a little bit more kick for your money. So I mean, this is definitely another option for people out there that want to check this out, and maybe you got some Walmart loyalists that just want to shop at Walmart. This is another thing underneath their belt. But god dog, I feel like I wasted y'all time with this one. But anyway, hey man, we're moving on. Let's move on. Now, the Nintendo Switch has just hit a new milestone. by surpassing the Nintendo GameCube in sales. Now, the GameCube sat at 21.74 million lifetime sales, which it was on the market for 6 years to actually get to that point. Now, the Switch has sold 22.86 million, and it just released March 3rd of last year. Absolutely phenomenal. And you know what? I got to tell you guys really quickly. I did not know that the GameCube was more powerful than the PlayStation 2. It actually took my friend Jeremy Parrish, shout out to you, brother, who actually ran me through the specs and let me know that no, it was actually more powerful than the PlayStation. But the problem, once again, with the GameCube was it just didn't have that same caliber of games that the PS2 had. PlayStation 2 had one of the biggest runs in gaming. Some of the biggest exclusives you could ever buy were on the PlayStation 2 that nobody else had. Xbox didn't have it, nor did GameCube. But one of the better games on GameCube that did come out, everybody knows, was Resident Evil 4. But nonetheless, that's not the point. The point is that they have actually surpassed where the GameCube took 6 years. It only took them 1 year with the Switch to surpass those numbers. So congratulations, Nintendo. Keep up the fantastic work. Now moving on into the next story. Now we know it's that time of year again, baby. Black Friday is on the horizon, and it's always the best time to get that game or console at a discount. Now, I don't officially know what Best Buy or Walmart will have on sale, but Target has decided to pull the curtain back to show us what we can expect. Now, here we go. Now, as far as hardware goes, you will be able to purchase a PlayStation 4 Slim 1 terabyte bundled with Spiderman for $200. God dog, wait a second. Wait a minute. You can get, man, anyway, I said it, $200 for a 1 terabyte PlayStation 4 with darn Spider-Man. Good gosh. Now, that is a doorbuster item. I want to let you guys know that, so don't think it's going to be in, I guess, a high quantity. I'm sure it's going to be like maybe 2 of them in the store. You know how they do that mess, man. Have people running and diving all over each other and whatnot for like 3 different items. You know, well, I should say not 3 different items, but you know what I'm saying. God dog, 3 items. And that's it. Good grief. Anyway, I'm really messing up. Let's move on. But, you will be able to buy a DualShock for $40. You're going to be able to get a Turtle Beach Stealth headset for $45. And this is really a good deal. This one right here. They're going to have the PlayStation VR bundled with Creed, Rise to Glory, and Super Hot VR with the camera and Move controllers for $250. That is phenomenal. That is absolutely fantastic. I have not seen it that low with the camera and the doggone Move controllers. That is awesome. I'm gonna have to jump on that for darn sure. And that's not a doorbuster item, so it should be in a lot of quantity. Now, here's the list of games that they're going to have on sale. They're going to have Assassin's Creed Odyssey for $35. Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is going to be $45. Call of Duty World War II? Huh. It's going to be $25. Detroit Become Human, $25. That is a must buy. Doom is going to be $15. Must buy. Dragon Ball Fighter Z is going to be $25. The Elder Scroll 5 Skyrim Special Edition is going to be $15. That's amazing. The Evil Within is going to be selling for $15. F1 2018 is going to be $30. Fallout 4 Game of the Year Edition is going to be $30. That's great. Far Cry 5 is going to be $25. That's great. Wow. God of War is going to be $25. That is really good. Lego The Incredibles, $25. Lego Jurassic Park World, $15. Lego Marvel Superheroes 2 is going to be $15. Naruto to Boruto, Shinobi Striker is $30. NBA Live 19 is going to be $15. God darn. Man, good or bad? I mean, it can't be that bad. $15. Yeesh. NFL 19 is going to be $35. Overwatch is $15. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is $30. Excellent price. Soul Calibur 6 is going to be $35, and that just came out. That's fantastic. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is going to be $15. Starlink Battle for Atlas starter pack is going to be $40. Now that is a doorbuster item, so I'm sure it's going to be in a small quantity. We Happy Few is going to be $35. Skip that. Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, is $15. God, dog, wait a minute. I gotta tell you, Bethesda is not playing, man. These guys are setting their bar so low to entry for their games. Good gosh. Man, this is amazing. $15 for this game, $15 for Doom. I mean, $15 for Evil Within 2. I mean, this is darn. Good grief, they want to win. Anyway, moving on. We're not done. WWE 2K19 is going to be $30. Forza Horizon 4 is going to be $35. That's great. Sea of Thieves is going to be $35. You'll be able to get an Xbox One controller for $40. And that's it for about that. Now for Nintendo, you're going to be able to buy, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy for $25. That's cool. Mario Rabbids is going to be $25. I've heard excellent things about that game. Let's see, Nickelodeon Kart Racers. Man, had to drop the ball somewhere, brother. That's going to be $25. Starlink is going to be $40. Man, I wonder, does that come with the Star Fox stuff? That would be cool. That's of course, a doorbuster item on that side as well. And you can actually buy a Switch that comes with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for $300, or a 2DS Super Mario Maker bundle for $80. So they are actually giving away a game for free. Holy smoke, Nintendo. Man, oh man, Mario Kart at that. Mario Kart 8 for free, $300. But this is Target's list. As the weeks go on, we'll go ahead and see what Best Buy is offering and Walmart. I'm sure they're going to be very competitive, but definitely be on the lookout for that. And if my memory is serving me correctly, you'll be able to go on Thanksgiving Day starting at 5 p.m. And they're going to shut the doors at, I believe, 1 a.m. So if you want to jump on some of these deals on Thanksgiving Day, you know, after you finish eating some turkey, you know, and a little bit of cranberry sauce, and you're feeling like, man, I want to get out there and get a jump on this stuff, you'll have a chance. Just make sure you get there before 1 a.m. because they'll be closing the doors, and I believe they'll be reopening up at 5 a.m. that Friday morning. So, with that though, let's move on to the next story. Now, this is kind of a Nintendo heavy week. I gotta let you guys know that. Now, the Nintendo Switch has a new peripheral available. Now, it's a game gun. Now, Nintendo isn't new to this. I mean, they're not new. I mean, the first gun I ever held was a Zapper. Okay. That was the first gun I'd ever, played duck hunt with. It was amazing. And then after that, they had its predecessor, the Super Scope 6, that came out. That didn't do too well. But this peripheral is specifically for Wolfenstein 2. Now, it's supposed to make the game more realistic and interactive. Now, if you want to check it out for yourself, it's for sale on Amazon for $19.99. Now, it's in the form of a shotgun. It actually looks kind of cool. I mean, you can find it. If you're interested in buying it, you can actually find it by typing in Fun Direct. Now, I believe that's actually the manufacturer. It is. Fun Direct is the manufacturer of the product. So it's not an official Nintendo product, but they did say that they will give you a lifetime guarantee on the product. Now, I thought this was kind of cool, man, because I haven't seen the light gun genre of gaming in quite some time. Now, I do understand that Sony does have their own peripheral as well for, I believe, their VR. And that's cool. That's good, man. But I remember, coming up, and this is not to get all reminiscent on y'all and all that, but I remember, back in the 90s, we were heavy into the light gun era. I mean, you had games like Time Crisis, House of the Dead, which was on the Dreamcast. You had Virtual Cop that was on the Sega Saturn, Mad Dog McGree, which was on that was on the PC, I believe. It might have been on the Sega CD as well, years ago. But man, it would be so much fun just shooting the gun, just blah, blah. I mean, you couldn't control the camera or anything, but I just really enjoyed that genre. I mean, we did get, I guess, kind of, what would you call it? It just got heavy in the market, and man, we got swarmed with so many of them that it kind of killed it off. But nonetheless, I tell you, one of my favorites was Time Crisis, because even though you couldn't move around, like move the camera where you wanted to move it to, you did have the duck button, and you could like duck down behind cover and then pop back up and shoot. I mean, it was cool. So for anybody that, was feeling a little nostalgic, for those light guns, that light gun era of games, you might just want to pick this up and check it out for yourself, play a little bit of Wolfenstein 2, and hey, it just might add to a little bit of the, not the realism, but I guess the interaction of the game. I mean, we'll see. But anyway, moving on from there, into some milestone Sony news, because we did just hear earlier that Nintendo has just broken a record. Well, Nintendo is not the only people. Okay, they are not the only company that is breaking records. Sony has broken another milestone as well. Now, according to Sony's latest quarterly financial results, the PlayStation 4 has outsold the PlayStation 3. Now, I want to put an emphasis on this. These numbers reflect shipped numbers, not sold. But nonetheless, it's still fantastic, because the PlayStation 4 has shipped 82.2 million PlayStation 4s, whereas the PlayStation 3 shipped 80 million consoles. But no, I'm not even going to get into that. What I want to say, cause I'm all over the place in this episode, and I do apologize, guys. I'm rusty. Man, my apologies. But I have to tell you guys, again, another milestone for Sony. 82.2. I mean, if you put it in perspective, okay, I think the PlayStation 3 came out, 2006, and it stayed on the market, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about 7 years, maybe 8 or 9, because we know Sony doesn't kill off their product right away, which is really a good practice. But you figure, let's just be fair and say 7 to 8 years it took for them to get to that 80 million. Whereas in this console generation, it has taken 5 years for them to get past what took them an extra 2 to 3 to do, because last generation lasted forever. For the Xbox, it was 2005 to 2013. And even when 2013 came up, they were still holding on to the Xbox 360, because you had games releasing on both. You had Titanfall that released not just on the Xbox One, but on the 360. You had the first Tomb Raider game, it released on the 360 and the Xbox One. So, they were still trying to, tag it along, keep it chewing and trucking along. But, eventually they knocked it down, and, we are where we are today. But the difference, I think, with, Sony last generation and this generation is they were a lot more humble this generation. They were very, very competitive. That is the thing. The Xbox, $100 more than the PlayStation 4, doesn't have as many appealing games because let's be honest, this generation, it doesn't matter what console is your preferred console. My preferred console, everybody knows, is the Xbox. I am a Xbox fan. Absolutely love the brand. But you would be blind to say that Sony has not knocked it out of the park this generation with the sheer number of exclusives, and not just exclusives, but triple A exclusives. I mean, we can go from Horizon Zero Dawn to Uncharted 4 to Until Dawn to Spiderman, God of War, Ratchet and Clank, it just goes on and on. Fist of the North Star that just came out, which is phenomenal. You need to check that out, brother. God dog, you do. It's just a list. I mean, even smaller titles that some people might not think are great, like Gravity Rush 2. That game is a lot of fun. You know, along with, I'm forgetting the Second Son. What was that? I can't think of the name of it, but the Second Son game. That game was really good too. I have that as well. It's just so many exclusives. I was actually looking down the list of exclusives that I have on the PlayStation 4. Now I have, give or take, maybe between 25 and 30 games on the PlayStation 4 right now. And out of that amount, I would say about 20 of them. No, it was actually about 25. Out of the 29. Out of that amount, only 5 of those were multi-plats. 5 of them, which is absolutely incredible. Shadow of the Colossus came out in February. They just have had a heck of a run. And I think that is the biggest difference, where Nintendo is showing a lot of improvement, and so is Sony, whereas for Microsoft, you don't see that growth spurt. You don't see that they're doing anything, you know, where they're breaking any milestones or they're doing anything monumental, was what I was trying to say. They have actually lost quite a bit of ground this generation, and I truly believe it's because of the lack of not just exclusives. I'm not going to say that. I think that Microsoft has done, they could have done a lot better. Let me say that with their exclusive situation. But I think once they started talking about, you know, PC is Xbox and Xbox is PC, and you can get the games over on the PC as well as the Xbox, the choice is yours. I think that's, you know, I mean, also we got to put out there, good grief, I'm everywhere in this episode. Good gosh, I apologize. But let me just say this, in closing, because good grief, I'm just rambling at this point. Outside of the 2013 debacle that they did, as far as the $100 more and Kinect being in the box, outside of that, I think that Microsoft has just had stumble after stumble after stumble. Now, finally, we're starting to see where they're kind of getting on some steady ground, but at the same time, still unsure where they're going with this new PC and console model. Because sometimes I feel like as an Xbox player, as a person that is loyal to the Xbox brand, now trust me, it's a business, okay? As long as they're giving me the games, how can I complain? Well, wish they were giving more games, but nonetheless, I feel like we get slighted sometimes on the console side. I really do. I feel like they pay more attention to the PC side in some aspects than they do on the console. But at this point, I'm rambling and I'm making this episode way longer than it has to be. So let me move on. Good grief. Sorry about this. If you are still here, let me tell you, thank you for your patience. But let's move on. Now, I know Mass Effect Andromeda, it didn't live up to the expectations that the original set. And the franchise has actually been put on ice for that. But nonetheless, according to the Microsoft Store, it looks like the game will be getting enhanced for the Xbox One X. Now, I know that N7 Day was today, and they really didn't say much. I forgot the guy's name. I didn't write it down, but basically it seemed like he was trying to give fans hope that, the Mass Effect franchise is not dead, that it will rise again like the Phoenix, but nothing more was really said. But outside of that, getting back to the point, there have not been, any, what would you say? No features have been discussed as far as what this update is going to do. We don't know if it's going to bring the game up to 4K, native 4K, 30 frames, or if you'll be able to change it to 60 frames, 1080p. Nobody knows yet, but nonetheless, it will be getting, which is good, some enhancements. So that's great. I didn't think the game was that bad. I still haven't finished it yet, but I thought it was, it was good for me. I don't know why everybody was complaining. Sometimes I think that people just really, really take things way out of proportion and they just run with it. But nonetheless, moving on. And more Xbox news starting tomorrow, I should say. Man, looking at the time, today, November 8th through the 11th, you can download PUBG and Pro Evolution Soccer 19 for free, even if you don't have Xbox Live Gold. Now, this is going to be part of the Free Play Days event, so make sure you jump on that today or before the 11th so you can get a chance to play a little bit of PUBG for free. Moving on to the next situation at hand. So Red Dead Redemption 2 is out on the market and it's killing it with the sales numbers. Now, as of today, or I should say as of yesterday, which was Wednesday, the game has shipped, listen to these numbers, man. The game has shipped more than 17 million copies. Now let me get it together. They did that in 12 days. Good gosh. Now let's put this in perspective. The original Red Dead Redemption released in May of 2010. Now by February 2017, Take-Two said it sold 15 million units. So in a week and a half or so, Red Dead Redemption 2 did what took the first game 7 years to accomplish. They did it in a week and a half. That is absolutely phenomenal. I believe the game made in the first, the weekend that it came out, I believe that game made $725 million, breaking a record over the weekend. Whereas GTA 5, I think it came out on a Tuesday, and by the end of the week or so, or the weekend, it made $1 billion. So Rockstar just does an amazing job with their games, and they just sell. How the world can you make the number one and number two biggest product in doggone entertainment history? Absolutely phenomenal. Rockstar, very, very well deserved. At least that's what I'm hearing. I hear that Red Dead Redemption 2 is absolutely phenomenal. The attention to detail, the graphics, the physics, everything in the game is just top notch. So I can't wait to get my hands on it this weekend. So congratulations, man. Good grief. And just to let you guys know, GTA 5 has sold, because this game has been on the NPD since 2013. This is just sickening. GTA 5 has sold over 100 million copies. And freaking sane. Moving on into some interesting EA news. Now, this info comes via a quarterly earnings call from EA CEO Andrew Wilson, who stated, and I quote, "Across multiple studies, we have new projects underway, including games from Respawn that are slated to launch by next holiday season." End of quote. Now, Respawn is working on 3 titles. They're working on an unnamed VR title, a new Titanfall game, and they're working on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Well, for the Star Wars game, Vince Zampella, he actually said at E3 this year that game is scheduled to release holiday season 2019, which leaves 2 other games left on the docket. So, is it possible that Titanfall 3 could release next year? I'm thinking so, because when you look or listen, or when you look at what their EA CEO Andrew Wilson said, he said that they're going to have new projects underway that are going to be slated for launch by 2019, the holiday season. They were bringing up more than one game because they said games or projects. So, in my opinion, hopefully this means Titanfall 2 will be released maybe sometime earlier next year. And I'm sure it's going to be great. Well, we do know EA has, and what's the newest game they have coming out? Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll see what happens with it, but yeah, moving on. I've hung myself with this one. Let's move on into some PC news. Now, it looks like once Xbox One exclusive, Sunset Overdrive is actually coming to PC. Now, this was discovered from the Korean rating board earlier this year, back in May. Now, there has been no word on when it will release. Now, who knows? Also, this game released way before Xbox Play Anywhere, so we'll see what happens. But a lot of people are getting actually very excited about this, because they're saying, well, if it's coming to the PC, then hopefully, since Insomniac has wrapped up things with Spiderman, that maybe they'll come back and make some 4K enhancements, or maybe be able to up the frame rate on the Xbox One X. And maybe, just maybe, if it goes off very well on PC, maybe we'll get a Sunset 2. So we'll see how it goes in the wash, but nonetheless, it definitely is coming to PC. So you PC guys, get ready to play Sunset. I really enjoyed Sunset Overdrive. I beat it. It was a fun game. It took a while for me to get into, at least 2 hours for me to get past that learning curve. And once I did, man, game was a ton of fun. You should definitely pick it up. Speaking of, hold on, wait a minute. Speaking of games that are fun, I didn't write this down, but Bulletstorm is up for free on for PlayStation Plus members and Yakuza. Let me tell you something. Any of you PlayStation guys out there, please download Bulletstorm. It is one of the most underrated, most underappreciated first-person shooters ever made, in my opinion. And if you're on the Xbox, it's actually on sale for like $13, might be $14, no more than $14. It would be $14 well spent. Definitely check that game out. Bulletstorm, to me, I belched. Bulletstorm to me is one of the best games ever made last generation. So do yourself a favor and check it out. Now, moving on to the next story. God dang, we getting late in the tooth here. GameStop is having a Pro Day sale from November 9th to the 11th. Now, some of the standouts include God of War, it's gonna be $30. Detroit Become Human is gonna be $20. You can't beat that. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is gonna be $40. Well, if you wait for the Target sale, you can get it for $30. But if you can't, it's a good pickup, $40, not bad. Or you can get a $10 reward cash when you buy Spiderman or Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Those are just a few that were on the list, but if you want the full list, go over to GameStop.com and you'll be able to see what they have for yourself. Now, speaking of Spider-Man, moving into the next story. Spider-Man news has come out, and the second DLC entitled Turf Wars has a release date for November 20th. And it looks like this DLC is going to feature Hammerhead. So definitely check that out, and November 20th is coming up real soon. Yes. Moving on, into some, Anthem news. That was the game that EA is coming out with later on next year, February actually. But, in Anthem news, executive producer Mark Dara was asked via Twitter, and I quote, the question was, is there an option to prefer frame rate or graphics on console, or is it locked to say 30 frames per second? End of quote. Now, Mark Dora's response was, and I quote, we are looking to do that on the PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X. End of quote. So it looks like, man, for you guys that definitely like to have that option, almost that PC-esque option to prefer frame rate over resolution, or resolution over frame rate, maybe this is something that we can expect in Anthem. And I'm sure many people would love to have a lock 60 frames per second at maybe 1080p, or if you really have that 4K TV that pops and you want to see all of the details, all of the luscious colors, you might want to opt for a native 4K 30 frames per second. But nonetheless, I think it's great that they're looking at the different options for this, and hopefully, just hopefully, that'll be a feature that comes to the game. Now, moving on into some interesting words that came out of Final Fantasy VII's remake director's mouth, Tetsuya I always get their names wrong. God dog it. Nomura's. Oh, shucks. Nomura. I think that's his name. Now, this was at an event for The World Ends With You Final Fantasy Remix, when a fan asked him a question, and I quote, the question was, I want to play Crisis Final Fantasy VII again. And the quote, he said, I'm thinking about ideas regarding the remake's release. I even spoke to producer Kitase about it today. All of us old timers are considering various developments in regards to what accompanies the remake. Like if we can manage to do something about the compilation titles too. But for the time being, please wait for 7's turn to come. So basically, he was saying that they are not opposed to making some of the Final Fantasy spin-offs, like Dirge of Cerberus, Cerberus, Crisis Core, and it was actually a PSP game starring Zack, as well. And with the remake being episodic, maybe they could fit these spin-offs into the mix. So we'll see. It would be kind of cool for people that actually like Crisis Core, maybe to be able to have the game come out and, be remade in some kind of way woven into the Final Fantasy VII remake, DNA. I think it would be pretty cool. So anyway, moving on to the next story. This is real quick news. The original Metroid is coming to the Switch's NES library on November 14th. Also, Twin Bee and Mighty Bomb Jack are coming as well. This is dope, man. Being able to play Metroid on the go, the original Metroid, that's pretty hype. Man, just work on a new one, Nintendo. Good gosh. Now, moving on. Now, if you're looking forward to the upcoming Smash Brothers, then it's no doubt you're going to want to use your GameCube controller. But what if I was to tell you that your GameCube controller could be wireless? And I'm not talking about the Wavebird. Well, 8-Bit Do is offering a device for $19.99 where you plug your GameCube controller into the adapter and it connects wirelessly to your Switch. Now, it has also been reported that it has a 30-hour battery life. Now, it also features a home switch button and screenshot button. Now, it won't release until December 7th, which I believe that's when Super Smash Brothers actually releases. But you can pre-order it on Amazon. All you got to do is type in 8-Bit Do wireless GameCube adapter, and it'll show right up for anybody that's interested in buying it. But that's about it for this one. Now moving on to the final story. Now Troy Baker actually announced at the Argentina Game Show 2018 that he was finished filming for the game that is Death Stranding. Good grief. Now he also said it's a huge game. The scope of the game is huge. Hold on, whoa. Is this his quote? Hold on. Wait a minute. This is his quote. He said, that, it's a huge game. The scope of the game is huge. If you know anything about Hideo Kojima, he doesn't do small. It's weird and it's big. So basically it's not just us. I've been looking at this game for years now, and all I can say is it just looks weird. It just looks out of this world. I don't know what to make of it. It looks like Troy Baker does not either, and he worked on the game, God dog it. He was there acting out the scenes. So nonetheless, I guess the takeaway from this is, yes, the game is weird. I'm sure it's going to have your brain spinning in 20 different directions, and it's a big game. Now, if he's talking about big in scope, I don't know, or if he's talking about big in production, who knows? That's up for debate. But anyway, shoot, that is the end of the gaming news this week. I got to tell you guys, I butchered the heck out of this podcast. Man, I couldn't speak well. I couldn't get my facts together. I couldn't get my mind straight. But I definitely want to tell you guys, I appreciate you hanging in there with me. And we will be back, because I'm going to just get ready to wrap it up in a minute. But before we wrap it up, we're going to come right on back after this week's Video Game Theater. Stay tuned, guys.
You can run this through, boy? You think you can come in here and steal my heroin without nobody noticing?
I'm not here to steal your heroin, Richie. I'm here to make you pay for what you did to Sammy and Ellis Robinson.
I didn't have nothing to do with it!
I watched you stab Ellis in the gut. I couldn't do nothing about it then, but I sure as hell can now.
God damn it! None of that was my idea, you hear? It was all Georgie, him and his old man. They wanted y'all gone, not me. What was I supposed to do? Say no?
Either that or make sure that I was dead.
Oh, no. No, please. Listen. Just decent thing would be to let a man get in a prayer before you kill him.
You can pray on the way up.
When I saw Richie Doucette hanging from that Ferris wheel, I felt a profound sense of disbelief. Nothing like this had ever happened before. You mobsters killed each other all the time, but it was generally a small, contained event. Some greaseball is eating spaghetti and meatballs at his favorite restaurant and gets popped in the head. But this was different. Even then, even before I knew who killed him, I knew that Richie had been put on display. Lincoln was trained in psychological warfare by the CIA. He wanted to terrify the mob, wanted them to know he was going to kill every last one of them, and that none of them would be able to stop him.
And welcome back, guys. Welcome back. We are in the final section of the podcast, and you guys know every week I have to ask you guys a question in the final section of the podcast. And this week's question is, should we keep low expectations for XO18? Now, over the last couple of months, we've been, well, I should say weeks to be fair. We've been hearing so much speculation. We've been hearing that Fable is going to be there. We've been hearing that, I'm about to say Rockstar. Microsoft is getting new acquisitions with some new studios. We've been hearing that, good grief, just so many different things. The new Batman game is going to be there. Microsoft, I should say Phil Spencer actually hyped this up a little bit too by saying, referring back to the old XO, event where that was when they had said that they had got, Rare. They had acquired Rare. BioShock was announced that year. A Fable game, I believe, was announced as well. I mean, they had a heck of a event that year. So people are taking that and they are running with it. I know that they've said that Crackdown 3 is going to be at this event. Maybe a studio acquisition. I mean, this is loose talk, okay? I'm not saying this is what Microsoft confirmed, but they also said, some of the talk has been a new Tomb Raider DLC bundle is going to be there. Something to do with Sea of Thieves is going to be there as well. Maybe Ninja Theory's game is going to be there. I mean, a lot of this is speculation from an insider that says that these are the things that are going to be there. But once again, it has not been confirmed by Microsoft. But by looking at this list that he was showing, I believe this was on Twitter, it really made me say, good grief, maybe everybody needs to kind of pull back a little bit and not expect a E3 showing here. I mean, maybe we should calm down a little bit. For me personally, if they have acquired Obsidian Games, that's a huge get. Announce that on the stage. I would love to see the Cuphead DLC. I would love to see what happened to The Last Night. The game that looked like Flashback. What the world ever happened to that? If they were to show that on the stage, that would be awesome. Ori and the Will of the Wisp, maybe we get a release date. That would be great for me. And Crackdown, if Crackdown is going to be there, show off the multiplayer. If the multiplayer is exactly how it was when it was advertised 2 years ago, I think that's a win. I think that is a solid show. I mean, people that want Fable and people want these, to know what the new studio acquisitions are working on and, wanting to see 7 new IPs. I just don't think that is going to happen. So for me personally, I think we should keep low expectations. And if we are presently or pleasantly surprised, then it's a bonus. But let's not overblow the situation to heights that Microsoft will never be able to get to. Because we gotta remember, guys, this is not a E3 event. It's an XO event. It's a fan event. So let's just kind of keep that in perspective. I know that Sony showed off The Last of Us 2 at their PSX, and it was absolutely a jaw-dropping moment, but I don't know if Microsoft is going to do that. But that's the question for you guys. As always, you can get in contact with the show by emailing the show. The email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com, or you can call in on the hotline at 443 216-9934. Guys, I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and once again, I want to thank you guys for just tuning in and getting through this botched show that I was able to do tonight. So with that being said, before we go, always remember, guys, it is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So with that being said, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.